which
Malcolm, I'm awfully sorry to interrupt, but is it possible for John perhaps to answer one or two of those
Certainly,
points?
certainly.
Otherwise we're going to have 9 points unanswered. But
yes, it's building up the list a bit. But I mean, the problem that we... No, seriously, the problem that we have got is that you think that we're ridiculing Jesus. And we say, sort of sincerely and truthfully, that is certainly not what we intended to do, and I believe that we're not. And I can best answer that, I think, by answering Alvid's question, which is that what were we trying to do? And I think it comes out, it was spelled out perhaps rather too plainly, rather too banally at one point, when he says, make up your own mind, don't let other people tell you. And we would absolutely deny, at least I would, that there was any attempt to say you should not believe in Christ. What we're saying is take a critical view, find out about it, don't just believe because somebody tells you to. Somebody in the pulpit says something, question it, work it out yourself.
You're seriously suggesting that if someone saw that film, say a young kid who knew nothing about the Gospels or about history, that the figure of Christ that would emerge from it, this story of the Incarnation, would be a noble one, would be...
He would have to sort it out for himself. And he would have to, for example, work out, I mean, does one accept every word in the Bible? In the Sermon on the Mount, did they get it all right when Mark wrote it down 30 years later? I mean, was every word right?
But is the film likely to be seen by anybody who doesn't know an awful lot about Jesus Christ?
Most certainly it is today. If you have it for children of 14 today, you will find that the many, many children of 14 today, thanks to the secular nature of the education they're receiving, know nothing about it at all. And they would see this figure, I think, in the light in which he appears in this film, you see. It's no good you cheating yourselves. You can't have it both ways. You produce this particular... film, which arouses bursts of laughter, as I said earlier, rather easily procured. But don't imagine that someone seeing that is going to go away with the concept of the founder of the Christian religion and all that that meant to mankind in any way corresponding to what history or the Gospels or anything else is presented.
Well, it's not supposed to be about it, so people shouldn't go and see it to learn.
But it's no good saying that it's not about it.
I'm not being dishonest. I mean,
you're being utterly dishonest,
Can I just say, I mean, I don't know where this will get us, but I feel my approach to the film was I was confused. I feel I'm still asking questions, seeking solutions. I am very confused and perturbed by a religion, an established religion in this country, where people can go into church on a Sunday morning. The same people can sing hymns and say prayers. And at the same time, these people can stand by while their money is spent making bombs, making guns, building up appalling weapons of destruction, can sit by, sing hymns, say their prayers, and agree with a policy in which hospitals have to go without money.
First of all, I'd very much like to know where you get your evidence. You must give me a chapter and verse. So it happens that immediately before coming here, I was asked by crowds of church people if I would stand up for the councils of the health of St. Olive's Hospital, which the government is trying to close. The church is extremely active in these fields, and I would urge you not to make these careless generalizations which are not dependent on evidence. Now,
I make them in all humility. I'm seeking answers and solutions. I'm not saying this is absolutely the way it is, but I have observed people...
I mean, what you were saying, I mean, it's great, but it's sheer rubbish. And you made a ridiculous generalization which is unworthy of an educated man. Now, having said this, back to what you say, somebody aged 14 coming and seeing this thing of Jesus, what you are seeing is not one of the greatest teachers in the world. I mean, granted, lots of people, the majority of people wouldn't accept him as the Son of God as I do, but surely most of us would see him as one of the greatest teachers of the world. Now, you wouldn't guy Socrates or make him appear as a clown. And what I think
maybe
this
there are funny things about it.
What?
Maybe there are funny things about Socrates. Why shouldn't we make jokes about Socrates?
Well, if there are certain aspects of the work, you would not Socrates.
No, that's not my point. I don't know enough about
also
Socrates.
was
Maybe
murdered. He was made to drink poison. You wouldn't guy him at that point or make him appear as a clown. And what I say, and I'm afraid you won't alter my conviction, John, over this, is that this is what is to a Christian the most sacred moment of the whole Jesus experience, namely his death, that at that most sacred moment he was guyed and made to look as a clown.
May I make another point just here, which is rather interesting, that if you'd made that film about Muhammad, you see, there would have been an absolute hullabaloo in this country, because all the sort of the racial, anti-racialist people would have risen up in their might. The same people who would approve of this and would have said this is quite disgraceful. And behind people's minds would be the thought of maybe they might lose a bit of oil, by doing it. But you see the difference.
You're right, Malcolm. I mean, 400 years ago we would have been burnt for this film. Now, I'm suggesting that we've made an advance.
And I'm suggesting that compared with other presentations of this great event, the Incarnation, you have not made an advance, and that anybody in the future who might dredge up this miserable little film, and it's quite possible they might as a piece of social history, they would certainly not wish to relate it to the thing, say, Chartres Cathedral, which is built to the glory of Christ.
Not a funny building, actually.
But they might want to compare it with 40 Towers.
Yes, they're not even intended to be a funny building.
Well, it has the gargoyles on it,
Michael.
I think that, and I've seen this in the sort of reviews of the film, they concentrate always on the religious angle. Even, before they've seen it, they've decided this is a film about religion. I don't think it is entirely. I think that what we've chosen to do is what we've always done in Python. We've done for 3 series, we've done for 3 films. We have taken a certain group of people, which are generally sort of England in the present day, and put them into a historical context. I think that's what we've done with this film. I think it isn't entirely about religion. It's about the people who live in... anyone who lives and makes up our society today.
It's also about closed systems of thought, whether they're political or theological or religious, whatever. Systems by which whatever evidence is given to the person, he merely adapts it, fits it into his ideology. You show the same event to a Marxist and a Catholic, for example, they both of them fine, they both have explanations of it. I mean, it's what to be pompous poppers on about with falsifiability of theories. I mean, once you've actually got an idea that is whirring round so fast that no other light or contrary evidence can come in, then I think it's very dangerous. I don't think it's dangerous to someone like Malcolm, because he's actually a very nice man. But I think he is the sort of guy that this film is actually having a go at, because I don't think that there's any evidence that can come to him now that is going to make him think, am I right? Am I making a mistake?
Well, you can leave that out. I think I could say with utter sincerity that there was nothing in this particular film that would lead me to want to change conclusions that I've reached after living for 76 years in this world.
Is there anything? That's the point I'm making.
Well, in this film there was nothing that could possibly, because the film itself bore so little...
No, but the point I was making, Mark, is not the film. Forget the film. We'll say that's rubbish. Okay. Is there anything that can happen to you now that could cause you to change your mind?
But of course every single person who is alive and spiritually alive is constantly reviewing his faith. I do not believe for a moment that there is a definitive faith and you say, there it is. But there's nothing in this little squalid number that could possibly affect anybody. Now, in that sense, I give you this point. I give you this point that there's nothing in this film that could possibly destroy anybody's genuine faith. That I grant you absolutely not, because it's much too 10th rate for that. But what I still contend is that someone who is young, 14 years old, seeing that without any particular background might really imagine that that buffoonery is an expression of this great episode.
Well, you see, I was also... You talked about the presentation of Christianity. I mean, I went to an English preparatory school and an English public school, Clifton College, the sports academy.
I sympathise with you.
I was given 8 or 10 years of a form of Christianity which I grew to despise and dislike. largely it insulted my intelligence. The sermons that were given at the age of 11 and 12, I felt insulted my intelligence. When I got into writing this film, and we all had exactly the same reaction, we started to discover a lot of stuff about Christianity, and I started to get angry. Because I started to think, why was I given this rubbish, this 10th-rate series of platitudes, when there were interesting things to have discussed? There were factual things. Nobody ever told me that they don't know what language the Gospels were written in, that they don't even know who wrote them, and they're not even sure what cities they were written in.
Then you must have read very superficially at your school.
Look, John, it's very bad luck for you, but you see, I used to go to Clifton College to preach very often when you were there.